Now there's a part of the fight reflex that goes into what I call the uber punitive, hypercritical, shaming aspect of who we are. And that's an internal fight. It's like an argument on the inside. You're in conflict with yourself. And what can be happening is the part of you that learned to shame or shun or punish or criticize is taking over. It's like an overlord. And it takes that on because it's afraid of another part misbehaving or causing some kind of exposure or vulnerability. So this uber punitive part can come in and be hypercritical and shaming. And it can do that in a flash. It can come on suddenly. You might feel like your body gets hot. You feel like falling through the floorboards or disappearing, or the shame can also promote the sense of like, I better do better. That feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm about to get found out. I better do better. And it also can come with the sense of this whole thing should be concealed. Nobody should see that this is going on for me because the exposure would feel too great. So in this case, when that's coming on, it's really important to practice a kind of loving, kind, compassionate attitude towards yourself, towards the deepest you that does not want shame to take over again. Okay, so what we're going to do here is an opening of the chest and the heart and a slowing down of the breath. You can stay in your body. I'm going to ask you to find a countertop or a tabletop. I'm going to use this one here. It could be the kitchen counter. It could be your desk. It could be the wall if you have a solid wall. This is a closet door. It's not particularly solid, so I'm not going to use that. These are watercolor paintings. That's not a solid place to put my hands, but I can use this desktop. So find your own tabletop. And sometimes your desk is too short, but if you put blocks on your desk, it's going to be the right height for you. Place your hands and please step back to a kind of dog position. Downward facing dog pose, normally done from the floor. And as you place your palms here, lengthen your spine and invite your breath to find its way into the pelvis with an overarching attitude of love or kindness or support. You're inviting that shaming voice not to have so much power right now. In fact, you can let that shaming voice know that your inner wisdom is stronger than shame. As the breath comes in, start acknowledging also the vulnerable part of you that shame was trying to protect. And I know that can sound ironic and bizarre, but the shaming voice comes up as a protector, even though it's very painful. So as you breathe in a deep sense of kindness for yourself. Providing safety to the part of you that is vulnerable. And letting shame see you, taking some inner leadership here for kindness, or acknowledgement, or love, or support. Those of us who've had an inner shaming voice or an inner critic, we have found out through many experiments that it actually doesn't work that well. It does not produce the outcome that we think it's going to produce. We don't become more productive or more elegant or more evolved. We actually become stuck in the critical mind. And so now press down against your palms on the desk or the desktop or the counter and walk forward. Let go. And now we're going to use the wall to open the chest and the heart and the shoulders. So what you'll do is find anything that can substitute here. It could be the door frame, could be the upper kitchen cabinet, it could be, I don't know, like a place in your house where there's a secure frame. Like I have an archway in my hallway there. That's a nice place to do this. I'm going to use the wall behind me. So what you'll do is step up to a spot, place your hand at shoulder height, turn your torso away from your hand, turn your feet, your knees, your hips, your chest, and your heart, and turn only as far as your shoulder is truly comfortable in this opening. Lift your heart, lift your collarbones, raise up through the crown of your skull, and as you breathe in, let the inhale come down to that in you which was vulnerable, to which the shame monster was responding. It came in to criticize you, punish you. The shame monster is kind of acting like it's trying to put the jack back in the jack in the box. So it's trying to oppress, to criticize, to hold you down. It's like an overarching voice that comes from the top down and pushes us into a dorsal vagal mode. Ultimately, shame acts as a shutting down reflex. As you're breathing in, try to bring this breath of kindness and acknowledgement into the lower pelvis. And invite the hypercritical voice to know that you're making an effort right now, based on some wisdom, discernment, perspective. And then as you exhale, start rotating back towards the wall. Place your other hand up, might be on the kitchen cabinet, could be on the door frame. Could be on you're outdoors, could be on a tree, right? Rotate your feet, your chest, your heart, only as far as your shoulder is truly comfortable in doing. And let the breath come down. And remind yourself again that the instinct for the inner critic and or shame, those are both safety mechanisms, even though they're quite painful. So you want those parts of you to see yourself right now taking this leadership moment, these acts of kindness towards yourself. Whatever got stimulated in the vulnerability, whatever egregious thing shame tells you that you have done or is trying to prevent you from doing, it deserves a chance to be known. We can't know it if shame takes over the system. We end up collapsing and everything basically goes dull and dark. And by breathing in this act of kindness right now, we're also going to give ourselves a chance to know something more about what's going on with our inner life. So as you next exhale, turn towards your arm that's on the wall, let that come down. And come down to a seat. Could be kneeling, could be sitting cross-legged. Could be something a little more grounding. And I'm going to ask you to use a phrase. For example, I'll provide one and you can make up your own. The phrase could be, "There is more right with me than there is wrong with me. There is more right with me than there is wrong with me. There is more good about me than there is bad about me. There is more goodness about me than there is bad about me." This kind of phrase, you're letting that inner critic know. You're basically letting it know that you have some additional wisdom about the situation. And shame and self-loathing and criticism, they cannot have greater perspective or wisdom about the situation because they're driven by your limbic brain, which is very limited in perspective. And bring your hands to your heart. Thank yourself for the efforts there. Let's give appreciation to the parts of us that were willing to be here for this practice just now. And may you find a new neurological pathway in which you can walk today. May you come to this day with courage, with a commitment to yourself, not for the protective mechanisms that became preservative, that became preventative, but can you come now with some proactive mechanisms where you can have a sense of your purpose, moving in a direction of your healing and wholeness. Thank you for being here. Namaste. As always, if practices are helpful for you, please don't forget to leave questions and comments down below the video. Click the like button and subscribe to the channel. I hope to see you next time.